Everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Lindsay and I love all things reading because reading is what? It's fundamental. Welcome back. I am very excited to be filming this video. I love watching other booktubers and seeing what some of their recommendations may be based on the different types of questions they're asked. So I have been using the app Likewise for a little bit now. You can use it from anything from books to podcasts to TV shows, things like that. And you're also able to ask questions for book recommendations based on a specific trope or a specific genre that you're looking for. And anybody that has the app is able to submit answers. So I've kind of screenshotted a few different questions that came up and that I was able to send recommendations to. And most of the ones, actually all of the ones that I have mentioned in this specific video, the people that asked the question did get back and say that they liked the recommendation. So those are the ones that we're going to go through today. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. I am slowly but surely growing, and I'm really excited to be able to film weekly bookish content for you, so it really helps out the channel. And if you do watch the video all the way through and enjoy, make sure to hit the like button as well. And yeah. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get into the recommendations on different genres and tropes. Okay, so the first question or recommendation that was asked for were for books all about boarding schools. So I do have two recommendations for this. I don't have the physical books, so I will just put a wonderful picture just up here. The first book that comes to mind for boarding schools is going to be The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, or Michaelides, Alex M, as I like to say. This is all about a woman who goes to visit her ex or her deceased husband's niece, I believe, and there has been some kind of a murder at the school. It actually ended up being her niece's roommate, and there is a group of girls at the school called the Maidens, and it's all about how this therapist is trying to help the police force, whether they want to or not, find the murderer of this girl. So it does take place in a boarding school. I would specifically recommend this for people who love imagery and really like a certain scene to be set, and I would also recommend it being read in the fall because it definitely has those cozy vibes. The second book I did not enjoy, but I do know a lot of people that did, and it is called Lessons in Vengeance. I will leave it here. I believe it's Victoria Lee or Veronica Lee who wrote it, but again, I will leave the picture here. This one I was expecting to be more like Coven Witches, and that's not what I got. So I'm not even going to go over the synopsis pretty much, just because I feel like the synopsis that the book gives you is not what the actual story is about. It was a 2-star read for me. If you're looking for dark academia, this is definitely something that you may enjoy. Just know going in to have maybe a little bit of a lower expectation, because the book synopsis, again, is not what the actual book ends up being. The second recommendation was for a book about a runaway. So the first book and the only book that really kind of came to mind for that one is called The People We Keep. This was a book of the month pick that I was able to get, and I did give it 3 stars. This is all about a girl who has kind of been abandoned by her dad. Her dad has a new wife, and the wife kind of comes off that she wants to have a relationship with her, but I think it's kind of just for show, and she really doesn't want anything to do with her, but to kind of keep in the husband's good graces, she tries to make an effort while he's around. But finally, the woman or the girl just gets fed up. Her dad, I believe, goes to jail at one point, and so the girl steals the keys to his car and leaves. She's 16, I believe she's 16 to 18, kind of early to late teens, kind of that young adult age. She's had the same boyfriend for the longest time. He's wanting to settle down in the town. He doesn't believe that women should work. So if she knows that if she stays in this town, she's going to have a certain kind of life, and she's always thought that she is capable of more. So it goes through different timelines of her life and where she ends up, the people that she meets, and the people that she keeps around. I gave it 3 stars, and I still stand by that, but there was just a storyline that I thought I kind of should have went the other way, and it wasn't my favorite writing style. So again, it was a good story, good premise, but I do recommend if you are looking for that kind of a trope. The next recommendation is for a mystery novel with a hint of romance in there. Before the beginning of this year, I didn't even know that this was a thing, to be completely honest, but this is literally my only 5-star read of the year so far, and it is Verity by Colleen Hoover. This book has a very mixed review. People either hate it and give it like 2 stars, or they love it and give it 5 stars. I'm lucky enough to be able to say that I absolutely loved this book. This is about a writer who is a bit down on her luck, and she is called into her publisher's office because she has a job proposition. So there was an author named Verity who was in a tragic accident. Nobody knows that this has happened, but she's in the middle of a book series, and she is being asked by the author's husband to finish the series. So she goes out to their home. She is expected to live with them until the books are finished, and she ends up going to the office of Verity, just looking through notes and things, trying to get a better feel for the characters and to see if there were any other notes that she could build the stories off of. And she comes across a memoir of Verity, and it is extremely eye-opening. So the end twist was phenomenal. I didn't see it coming. I have enjoyed both Colleen Hoover books that I have read. This one is definitely different. So if you like this one, you may not necessarily like some of her more hard-hitting feel kind of books, but again, I super highly recommend this novel. The next recommendation is for a YA mystery or a YA thriller, and the book that I'm going to give 2. The book that I'm going to give for this one first is The Inheritance Games. I really loved this book. I will say it did take me a hot minute to read. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars, I believe. But it was just because I was in a reading slump, and this book actually got me out of the reading slump because of the scavenger-esque kind of element within here. The only thing that I docked it marks for was that there were a ton of different characters that were announced at the beginning of the book, and it was a bit overwhelming. There are 4 different brothers in this book, and I think if they would have just maybe eliminated even one of them, it would have made it a little bit easier to follow. But I really enjoyed this one. This is about a girl who is brought to this mansion because she was named in a billionaire's will who she's never heard of before, and she is going to inherit the mansion. But the only kind of caveat to that is that she has to live in the mansion for a whole year with the family members. So you know that there's going to be something going on, and there is a little bit of murder in here, but mostly think national treasure scavenger hunt around a very large estate. I absolutely loved this book. I do have the Hawthorne Legacy somewhere around here to read, so I'm excited to read that one, and I believe the 3rd one is coming out this year if it hasn't already, so I'm hoping to catch up on the full series by the end of the year. The next book that I want to recommend is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. This was a 5-star read for a YA thriller for me at the end of last year. I'm so glad that I picked this up. I do also have One of Us is Lying, but that one fell a little bit short for me. But I think that's probably just because I loved the characters in this one so much that the other one followed one of the sisters of these characters, but it was just a little bit off. But this one in particular follows a group of 4 people who are in detention, and all of a sudden the 5th person in the detention hall keels over and just dies right there. The teacher went out in the parking lot because there was a little bit of, I don't know if it was a scuffle or there was a loud car, but he wasn't in the room when the high school student passed away. So then there is a big investigation on who the actual murderer is. So it follows each character and has different, not timelines, but different POVs. I absolutely loved this. I thought the characters were super relatable. I knew that it was a YA going in, so just make sure to have that mindset if you're looking for more of like an adult contemporary kind of mystery thriller. You probably won't like this one because it is based on teenagers, but for what it is, I thought it was absolutely wonderful, and it doesn't surprise me whatsoever that there is an actual Netflix series based on the book. Okay, this is the final YA recommendation, but I thought it was important to put this in here. And it was for a person of color to be in a YA mystery or a YA thriller. I actually just finished this book on the weekend. I did consume it by audiobook, and I thought that the audiobook was really good, but I'm glad that I have a physical copy of it. And this book is called White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. I think this is probably one of the most beautiful covers that I have. And this was also blurbed on the back by Karen M. McManus from One of Us is Lying. And it was also blurbed by R.L. Stine, which who doesn't love a goosebumps moment from their childhood? So this one follows Mari or Marigold and her family. It's a bit of a blended family. Her dad is in Japan on a business trip, and her mom has met this new guy. I believe his name is Alex. He has a daughter named Piper, and they moved to this new area. So there's a little bit of a backstory with Mari. I believe that she had a little bit of a substance abuse problem because she has extreme OCD, and there was a bed bug situation, so it gave her anxiety. So she turned to drugs, and her family did end up spending a lot of money to be able to get her into the rehab that she needed. But with that comes a lot of bills, so they've moved to this new town for a fresh start. Her mom just got this new job, but there's definitely something going on in the town that they move in. It seems like there's a lot of gentrification that's going on, and she just has a really weird feeling about the whole area. So it was a good book. I gave it 3.5 stars. Again, it's YA, so this one for me fell a little bit short from One of Us is Lying, because that's what I compared it to. I didn't really find that there was a twist that I didn't see coming in here, and that's another element of a thriller that I really enjoy. But this was still a really great read, and if you do have the Scribd app, which is what I use, this one is on there, so you can either read it with the audiobook, but it is a pretty short novel to get through if you just wanted to read the novel as well. The next recommendation is for a heartbreaking or thought-provoking kind of heart-stopping romance. I normally read a lot of thrillers or mystery novels and romance novels, so those are the kind of 2 genres that I normally stick to. And my favorite author of all time, I have all of her books, is Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's nothing new if you are not new to my channel. I mention her a lot. But this specific book really just put a knife in my heart a little bit last year in kind of the best way possible, if that's a thing. But the book that I'm going to recommend for this is One True Loves, obviously by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It is about this woman who was married to a man who loved adventure, and he was an adventure photographer. And on their first anniversary, he took a helicopter trip to take some pictures, but he never came back. So that's how the book starts, and then it kind of goes 3 years down the line. She is happily engaged to someone else. They are actually at dinner with her parents, and she gets a call from, I believe, Hawaii, and she's like, I don't know anybody with this, and she picks it up, and it's her husband that has just been found after 3 years. So the whole book is her choice to see if she wants to go back to the life that she knew she was happy in, or if she wants to continue with the life with her partner that has now fit into her life. It is heartbreaking at some points. The fiance, man, I just really feel for him in this specific thing. Like, how would you deal with this? Like, I would have no idea how you would choose. You know, like, you were married to somebody, but they're legally dead, but then they come back. Are they the same person? What have they witnessed? Can you rely on something being the same? Whereas you know the life that you're going to be leading with this other person, but where are your heartstrings kind of leading you? So this is a really big, thought-provoking book. I really enjoyed it. I don't really get teary-eyed, I guess, with a lot of things, but this one definitely made me shed a tear. There is just something about Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing that just pulls at your heartstrings and just really makes you feel all the feels. So if you're looking for something like that, this is the best book that I'd ever be able to recommend to you. It is the month of June, so we are celebrating Pride Month all month long. So there was a recommendation for sapphic novels, but I'm also going to give you a male romance in here as well. So the first book that I'm actually going to talk about is the male romance, which I have read, and it is by Casey McQuiston, and it is Red, White, and Royal Blue. This one I loved. I believe I gave it 4.5 stars. This one follows the son of the first female United States president and the grandson of the Queen of England. It's kind of like a enemies to lovers romance in here. They definitely don't like each other, but at the same time, feelings develop. But because it's a long distance romance, you know, things come up, and also being gay is probably very hard, especially if you're in the monarchy. So there is a little bit of tension there as well, because even though the president's son isn't out, he is definitely more open to becoming out, but he also doesn't want to hurt his mom's campaign. And then paparazzi are involved. It's a whole thing. If you're into rich people drama, if you're into royalty, I think this is a really great read. You know, I know that this is so weird, but hashtag love is love. And if you love a good romance novel, I think this one is extremely cute. This one is actually next on my reading kind of TBR for the month of June. I didn't mention it in my TBR, but I found it on my shelves when I was cleaning up, and I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to read it this month. But this one is One Last Stop. It is also by Casey McQuiston. So because I haven't read it, I'm just going to read a little bit of the synopsis on the back. It says, for cynical 23-year-old August, moving to New York City is supposed to prove her right, that things like magic and cinematic love stories don't exist, and the only smart way to go through life is alone. She can't imagine how waiting tables at a 24-hour pancake diner and moving in with too many weird roommates could possibly change that. And there's certainly no chance of her subway commute being anything more than a daily trudge through boredom and electrical failures. But then there's this gorgeous girl on the train. This sounds super cute. I have been to New York City a number of times. I absolutely love that city. I know they call it the city that never sleeps, but there is something really magical about it. I have been lucky enough to be there for the lighting of the tree and everything as well. It is just such a wonderful city. There's restaurants. You could eat at a different one every year of your life for like 200 years and you still wouldn't be able to eat everything. So I'm really excited about this one. I think the setting in books is something that I specifically look for, and a good cityscape is always great. So really excited to get to this one in the month of June. The next recommendation was for a romance recommendation, and I have 2 books by the same author. One was an absolute 5-star read that I raved about at the end of last year, and the next one was a 4.75 star, and I am just really excited about both of them. So the author is Sophie Cousins. dropping books. The first one is This Time Next Year, which was one of my Book of the Month picks last year. And then the next one is Just Haven't Met You Yet. Absolutely love both of these ones. This one is about a girl named Minnie, Minnie Cooper, if you want to know, and that kind of plays into the joke a little bit during the book. But it follows her, and it also follows another male character. They're born on the same day, same hospital, everything, but it follows Minnie, who has a little bit less than ideal life, or a little bit of a lackluster life, and then it shows the male who comes from a really elite family and kind of goes through what each of their birthdays for like the last 6 years, I believe, kind of how they intersect, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They do meet, and it's just such a great novel. I don't want to give too much away because it is just a really good feel-good book, especially in the new year if you're looking to read a romance in the winter, because their birthdays are on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, I'm not sure. But this is really wholesome. It's really wonderful how they come back to kind of connect. And even though they didn't know it, they were in the same kind of areas doing different things during the same time. That might be confusing, but if you do read this, you'll totally get it. But I really, really loved this book. And then this one here is about a girl who, her mom has passed away. She was mainly raised by her grandmother, and she's always been told about a really wonderful love story about her mom and her dad. She wants to kind of figure out more about her father. She works for a travel company, so she has pitched to the travel company that she wants to go back to the homeland where her dad is actually from. He's passed away as well. I don't know if I mentioned that, but so she wants to pitch it as she's kind of going to find the love story. The editor loves that idea. They're kind of looking for weekend or long weekend getaways, so they think that this is a perfect kind of idea to put in the actual magazine. When she gets to the airport, she ends up getting the wrong suitcase. So when she opens it up, she's seeing things that remind her of her dad or of their parents' love story, and she thinks that this guy is her perfect match. So she loads up the luggage into a taxi. She kind of forms a bond with this taxi driver. So then she's a little bit torn between a relationship that she thinks may be budding with the taxi driver, but then she also thinks that the guy that the suitcase belongs to is her best match. So she still goes on a quest trying to find this guy. It's just really great. Again, I'm a sucker for settings, and this is kind of like an English-Irish kind of countryside from what I remember. Really, really wonderful. I love Sophie Cousins. I think she's very much like Taylor Jenkins Reid to me, and really excited about these ones. So if you haven't read anything by Sophie Cousins and you do like a good romance novel, this is really great. No spicy things, no bad language, so really just wholesome. One was for a good thriller, and this is the first one that came to mind. I read this one earlier this year. It is A Flicker in the Dark. It is my highest rated thriller so far this year. So this book is all about Chloe Davis, and when she was small, I believe it was 13, maybe teenager, like 12 or 13, there were 6 girls that went missing. So after an investigation, her dad ended up confessing to the murders, and he's been in a penitentiary ever since. So it kind of is a dual timeline. It goes back to things back then, and then it goes current day. So Chloe is a psychologist. She is getting ready to get married, and so there is a party, everything's going on there, but she's finally getting a grasp on what happiness is supposed to be. However, right before the wedding, a young girl goes missing, and then another one goes missing, and it seems like there is a repeat of what happened when she was kind of preteen. So this is a book kind of about how she copes, how she is able to try to assist, because the first girl that goes missing is actually one of the people that she has as a patient. And then it kind of ties in with what happened with her own family and how her own family dealt with things when she was smaller. This was so well done. I did not see the twist that was coming. I thought that I had it figured out like 2 or 3 different times, and it always took me for another loop, and I absolutely adored this book. So if you haven't been able to see it, I highly recommend picking it up. It is absolutely going to blur the lines and surprise you as to the ending because it is so good. So those are all of the recommendations. Again, I did get all of those from Likewise. It's a great recommendation place. So if you are looking for specific recommendations, you can always put it in there. It's completely free to download. This is obviously not sponsored or anything, but I really enjoyed being a part of it. If I am looking for something else, then I am able to ask there if I don't hear anything off of BookTube that I'm specifically looking for. So I really enjoyed it, but I hope you guys again enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, again, I'm going to remind you to hit that subscribe button. It helps me out immensely on this little channel that I'm trying to build. But that will do it for me today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you enjoy the good weather wherever you are. Happy almost summertime, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. See you in the next video. Toodaloo.